Well, thank you very much for inviting me today, and as Phil said, I'm going to explain mostly about Food Bank. Can we have the... I've got to wave at Izzy. Thank you. So I'm Georgina Whateley. Yes, frequently get it mispronounced or misspelt. Shouldn't have married the man, but never mind. My official title is Community Projects Coordinator because my job started at Second Thoughts, which is our community shop on Falcon Lodge. The picture there is of the new shutter we've had, that's why it looks a bit closed. But that's where I've done quite a lot of my work and joined the church in 1988. Because our church office is open every day, we get a lot of people just dropping in. We're in town, opposite McDonald's on the hill, and people will pop in and ask for money because we're a church and that's the place people will go. And we found that we didn't want to be giving money because we don't know how it's going to be spent, we don't know what would be a reasonable amount to give people and that sort of thing, and we were quite happy to give food. And at the time there was a Sainsbury's open in Sutton, and then there was a Waitrose, but now there isn't those things. There's Aldi if you want a bit of a walk. So in 2011 we launched our food bank at Harvest Festival. We had a really good response from the church, they really got on board. And we kept the food under the church in the vaults, so that's a picture of the vaults. We had loads of food. We had more food than we needed. In 2012, I think we gave out 70 bags all year, which, as you will see, the progression is completely ridiculous. We thought we were busy, we weren't. And we were able to do school provision for families. So during the school holidays, when they weren't getting lunch, free lunches, we were able to help them there. And by the end of 2019, we were doing 70 bags a week. So some progression. So at the beginning of 2020, we went back to our church and said, can you commit to giving something regularly? Would you always give us rice pudding every week? Would you make up a bag for us every week? Would you donate money every month? Any things that would mean that we knew that a regular amount of food was coming in and would sustain us through what was becoming an increasingly busy time. We launched street collections as well, and those are still going on. We've got some congregation who leafleted their own street, put a box in their porch, and people donate to their porch, and then they bring it into me. And that's been really, really successful. God's timing was absolutely incredible, because at that point then we had loads of food, and suddenly lockdown happened. And we decided as a church that if nothing else was able to happen, Food Bank would happen. And so because we'd been running for nearly 10 years, we were well organised, we were efficient. I'm a bit of an organiser, administrator, that's my gifting. And so everything was in order, and that was the reason the church was open. And so we've got more and more people coming in. We've moved the food into the church hall because there was a lot of it, and also, do you remember we went through that sort of there was no food in the shops? Our worry was we had more food in our food bank than there was in Sainsbury's, and that people might try to access it, let's say. So we moved it up to the church hall where it still is, and really got the thing organised and working. We stayed doing exactly what we did. We just gave out bags. We didn't do deliveries. We just thought we'd stick at what we know we're good at. There was one person I delivered to. A lady rang the office and said, I am so scared of going out. Could you bring me food? And so once a week we went and dropped a food parcel at her doorstep. And we prayed for her because her anxiety was so high, and I'm sure she was not alone during that period. I think we all went through bits of it, but she was really, really housebound. after lockdown had finished, probably we're getting towards 2022, this very smart lady walked into the office and said, "I've brought you some food." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much, really kind of you, please put it in the bin provided." And she said, "You don't recognise me, do you?" And I said, "No." And she told me her name, and I went, "Oh, same lady." So she had recovered from her anxiety, she had gone back to work, and she just wanted to come and say thank you. So as well as the food for the food bank, she bought a box of chocolates for the staff, because we had given her some hope during that time. Really great to see her. She's not had to access our services since, because she's back on board, so that's excellent. Harvest 2020, we opened the church for the whole week because we couldn't have a service. People came and dropped the food down, and we had a rainbow of food. You can sort of see it. Never to be done again. It was so much work, but it was just a brilliant way. We sort of claimed the rainbow back and did this wonderful. And the generosity of the community was just astounding. We had businesses bringing us food, we had shops bringing us food, we had pubs that had had to close down bringing us crisps and pop, with loads of crisps and pop. Some strange things. I don't know whether anybody received NHS boxes, but quite a lot of people in Sutton received food from the government. I don't know where it came from. They didn't need it. They gave it to us. The COVID testing centre in Sutton was provided with microwave meals and sandwiches every day for their workers, but they sent them so much they couldn't get through it, so we had some of that as well. So all sorts of times when we just thought, God's giving us more than we expected to have. And the joy of being able to say to somebody, this is a proper made sandwich, and this is a microwave meal that won't take you long to cook, and it'll be tasty. It was lovely. And through that time, we were never without food. Nobody ever went away without food. But we did have more and more and more visitors, a lot more children, a lot more families with children experiencing problems. And we were up to 140 bags a week. This verse in Ephesians carried us through. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than we ask or imagine. So when we started, we thought we'd be helping a few people. And now those 140 bags would have probably fed getting towards 250 people a week were having to come to us for food aid. And God was really faithful through that. We saw people regularly. We were able to spend time with them. The staff and the volunteers were absolutely fantastic. I have some fantastic volunteers who have built up relationships with people. That means that some of them come even when they don't want a bag. They just come in to say hello. And those relationships are really important as we move towards introducing them to Jesus. Let me turn the chat page. Let me just tell you about our volunteers. So I've got some volunteers that do the stacking and packing and stuff, do a tremendous job. And then I have receptionists, and they serve the people as they come in the church. One of my receptionists is called Richard. I've got two called Richard, but one's called Richard, who, when he started, he's a larger-than-life character. And when he started, he's just lovely with people. He just has that way that endears himself to people. And we said to him, if you could pray for people as they come in, that would be really good. And he was a bit tentative, but he's grown in that, to the point that he prays for absolutely everybody who comes through the door. He'll come in and they'll tell him his problems, because people have come from all sorts of really difficult situations, health situations, mental health situations, just family breakups, some homeless people we see, refugees, all sorts, the whole cross-section. People who've just lost their job, people who have just struggling through life through all sorts of reasons. And he'll listen to them very attentively, he's very eyes on, and he'll say, "Can I pray for you?" And he hardly ever gets anybody say no. And I think that teaches us that we need to be a bit braver, because people are open to being prayed for. I think it gives them that extra bit, other than you say, "Oh, I'll be thinking of you," or "Oh, I'm sorry for your situation." If you can say you're praying for them, it gives them that extra connection with you. And it occurred to me a few weeks ago when one of the other volunteers was on reception. People come in and they go, "Oh, is Richard not here? Oh, is Richard not here?" He is the most popular person we have, and he's the most praying. So he's not putting anybody off by praying with them, which I think is a real witness to what God is doing in our reception, in our foyer. That people come in knowing where they're coming, and that actually if they get Richard, Richard will definitely pray for them. And they want that. They want, and we've seen so many answers to prayer, small ones, big ones, all sorts of things. I'll talk about a few of those things. Let me just give you the graph. This is the graph. I don't like looking at this because it just scares me. But this is the progression of the number of visitors we've had since 2013. That's how it's going. I think this year it won't be quite as acute from what we're going at the moment, but it does show the growth that we've seen over the last years. And most of it's need. It's not about people hearing about it and thinking they'll come and give it a go. It is about need. And could you do the next one? I think, yes, I've snuck this one in because I remembered Phil said he was interested in this. This is pinpointing addresses of people from Sutton Coldfield who come to our food bank. So it really shows that it's across Sutton. It's not just the areas that you would think, "Oh, well, it's probably there," or "It's probably there." It's right across. And it's for all sorts of different reasons, as I said. So it's not just a bag of food we're giving out. I have brought a bag of food if anybody wants to see. This is what we give to a single person. It's a bit skimpy at the moment because we're running up close to what we've got, but that's the bag of food. It should feed them for 3 days. It's for an emergency. It's not somebody's groceries. It is for an emergency. The important things about people who come through our door is that we call them by their name. I think a lot of people don't get called by their name, and that is really important to people. They know our names, we know theirs. I've got quite a good memory for names, so I mean, Richard, the prayer, rubbish at names, so I'm behind him going, "Fred," or whatever, just to remind him. But yeah, call people by name. It's a really important thing. The encouragement we can give people, if people can come in, stop for a while, have a chat, be prayed for, maybe get a cup of coffee because we've got a coffee morning open that day, they go out lighter. They go out feeling like they've been somewhere, people have been concerned for them, people are bothered about them. And in that time, we're introducing them to why we're doing it. We're doing it because Jesus has asked us to feed the poor. And I'm always reluctant to use the word poor because I don't want you to think it's people who don't have money. It's the poor in health, the poor in spirit, the poor in finances, but all sorts of aspects of people's lives that just brings them down and they need some help. And maybe our bag of food is the least thing they need, actually, because it's not, with all respect, it's not brilliant food, it's tins. And some of you would go, "I don't even know where you find the stew in a supermarket in a tin," because people don't tend to buy it, but it's food and it's sustenance for them. Over the last few weeks, we've got an Alpha starting next week. And one of my other receptionists has said, "Right, I'm taking the names of these 10 ladies that we've built up relationships with, I'm going to go home and pray for them, and then I'm going to come back and invite them all to Alpha. We've got 4 of them coming already, which is just fantastic. And it's there again about why wouldn't they come? Why, if we've got such good news, why wouldn't they come? And if we can say, come along because you'll meet me at the door, I'll be there. You haven't got to walk in somewhere and not know anybody. Walk in, we'll be there. You can sit on our table and come and see what Alpha is all about. So we're really, really encouraged by that. Hello. This other verse. The God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. I love this verse because it says God is really generous to us, and it inspires us to be generous. And it's not so that we have loads, it says, so you will abound in every good work. So we're able to do what he wants us to do. Not that we're blessed and we sit in that blessing, but that we spread it out to other people. As I said, no one goes away without food, even if we're thin shells, and that has been times when we have. We'll find some food for them. Sometimes I've walked into the food bank in the morning, as I do every morning. I walk in and I look round and I think, we've got no, like this week, we've got no squash, and everybody wants squash this week. And I pray, right, we have no squash, please can we have squash? And within hours, squash is coming through the door. And it happens again and again that God provides what we need so that we can do what he would like us to do. And it's the works and not the things. So just some basic bits of information. We're open Monday to Friday. I think that's unique amongst most food banks in the north of Birmingham, certainly. We've currently got over 800 people registered with us. They're allowed to come once a week. Most people come just for that crisis. They come for 2 or 3 times, maybe up to 8 times, and then we don't see them again, or we won't see them for a bit and then they come back. Had a chap in the other day who said, I've been before. Told me his name, and I thought, yes, I recognise that name. You'll have a card for me. Well, we haven't seen him for several years, actually, but I said, oh, no, you'll have to have a new card. But good that he knew to come back to us. There's about 10% who come more than once a fortnight, and these tend to be people who have addictions or have mental health issues, so their money management is really poor. And we try and signpost those people to other agencies that can help us. We can't know about all the benefits that you're entitled to. We can't know about all the different services that are available, but there are people that do, and we just pass people on. Just like to tell you about a few individuals that we've prayed for recently. One lady came in, very regular customer, and she came in looking actually quite ill, and we talked to her for a while, and her mental health was really poor. She felt almost suicidal, she said. And in those situations, you think, we can do nothing but pray. I don't know how to deal with people with mental health issues, particularly, but we can pray. So we sat and prayed for her and gave her a couple of telephone numbers that might have been useful, guided her through the next few days, sort of said, what are you doing tomorrow? What's happening, at home, and that sort of thing. And she came back the next week, and her face was lit up, and she said, your prayers were... Oh, she'd had nightmares. We prayed that she would not have nightmares. She'd had no nightmares all that week, and she still hasn't had any nightmares. Her face has grown younger, is all I can say. And she has a lightness of spirit about her. She's coming to Alpha. And she sees that. We prayed. And when we first asked her if we could pray for her, she went, what do I do? And that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because we, as a church community, think, well, surely everybody knows, but they don't. You know, I don't know whether she thought she'd got to kneel down or put her hands together, and we said, just sit there, relax, we will pray. And so she is now coming to see us, even when she doesn't need a bag, and she's coming to Alpha. We've had two gentlemen who have come in and said, I'm going to try and give up alcohol. And we've said, we'll pray for you. Prayed for them. And one has completely succeeded. He's been without alcohol for over 6 months now. And the other one's still on the journey, still struggling a bit, but it's just a really wonderful feeling to know that they can come back and be encouraged and prayed for. And the expectation from us is that they will succeed, because we're asking our Heavenly Father to be with them in their situation. So there's all sorts of things like that going on where we're praying people through their health situations. Some staggering situations that people are finding themselves in, and not being able to get appointments and all those sorts of things that we all probably struggle with. We decided there is one abiding common feature with most of the people who come to Food Bank, and they don't have that support network. So today we've prayed for 3 families here, and they know that you're supporting them. But the people who come to Food Bank don't have local family, friends who are in a better situation than they are that can help. And it's that isolation and that need for somebody to stand around them and walk with them on their journey and support them. And we have become that for them. So my final slide. What can you do? Top of the list is pray. Please pray that as we meet with these people, that more would be signposted to Jesus, and that through that, their lives would feel more in tune with what he wants for them. If you would like to give, we have several ways. Donations are very well accepted, and I think you've all had leaflets with what we collect. These QR codes, one's for a one-off giving and one's for monthly. What I have discovered, though, having used them, is they all take you to the same page, and you can change whatever amount, or whether you want to give one-offs or monthlies. And that goes to our church website, but it's designated funding, so you're not to worry, it's coming to our church and not to the food bank. It will get to the food bank. If you'd like to start a street collection yourself, that would be really good. It's quite an easy thing to do, and we can let you have some more of those leaflets that we've given out. And there's one with please take your donations too, and then you can put your address in, so I can arrange that. And the other thing is that we're on Instagram. Now, I'm in charge of that, and I'm not very good at being very regular, and I'm trying to put something on every week. But it gives you a bit of an update. If we're really short of something, I might put something silly on, because we get some bizarre things in tins. Sprouts in tins. It's wrong, isn't it? Wrong, completely wrong. Sprouts in tins. Every now and again, we get a jar of sauerkraut, and we put it in a bag, and we always say to our visitors, if there's anything you don't like, just put it back. We've had a jar of sauerkraut go round and round for quite a while, but eventually it goes. But yeah, so we sometimes put silly things on just to keep you enlightened. But yeah, if you would like to support us, that would be really, really brilliant. So thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, come and see me afterwards. And if you want to rifle through the bag and see what we've got, please do. Thank you.